Hello and welcome to On the Trail with Isaac Peltz. I hope you are all doing well today. Today on the trail, we have Rob Ashton, a man with a resume. Rob is the president of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, ILWU, Canada, running to be the leader of the NDP. His opening statement for his campaign was, and I quote, "Eat the rich," as well as, "We're all getting screwed and I've had enough." Rob Ashton is the real deal and has made waves in this leadership race. An actual laborer running to be the leader of the labor-focused party sure makes a lot of sense. But his critics say he hasn't developed his policy options enough in specific detail. His fans love his beard, his attitude, and his straightforward approach. So today we're going to dig right into it. If you love unfiltered, tough interviews that get to the heart of the issue, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, and share with everyone you've ever met. Also, give me all of your money because you want to support independent journalism. Rob, thank you for being here and taking an interview with me.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you giving me some time, eh?
Yeah, it's my pleasure. The first thing I want to start off with is just a couple of, these have sort of become a litmus test, I think, for people on the left. And so I'm just going to throw a couple of lowballs at you. Is what happened to Palestine in these past 2 years a genocide?
Absolutely. You know, what we've been seeing over the years is hate and fear, and you can't even call it a war anymore. Like, you couldn't even call it a war in the beginning. You know, and this is why our country has to go back to our historic role as peacekeepers. That's where Canada belongs to be, you know, and quite frankly, I'm proud that the New Democrats have been fighting for justice and peace for everyone in that region, because the wholesale slaughter of communities is something that we have to stand on the rooftops and yell enough is enough, you know, and this type of actions will continue under my leadership after March 29th.
So you're confident you're going to win?
I'm an eternal optimist, my friend.
Right.
And, of course, I'm confident I'm going to win, or else I wouldn't be in this race.
You wouldn't be doing it. Yeah. Are you a socialist, Rob?
So, look, I've never been big on labels. I know how much harm a label can do on somebody. But if you're asking me, like, whether I believe in, you know, standing with workers over billionaires, then yeah, fucking rights, I'm a socialist. To me, it's a simple thing, right? For decades, workers have been getting screwed, and CEOs walk away with bonuses the size of small towns, right? And I think it's time that we flip the script on them. You know, believing in fair wages, strong unions, public services that actually work for people, and an economy run for people instead of the billionaires. If that makes me a socialist, then sure, I'll wear it 100%. You know, my friend. But at the end of the day, I'm not here to debate about labels and paint people into corners. I'm here to fight for working people. You know, that's the politics that I know, and that's the politics I'm going to stand for.
Let's get into it then. Unions are currently at the weakest state they've probably ever been in since they started, since the dawn of the union movement. So if you win as the leader of the NDP, and if you win a seat in the House of Commons, or if you won as the Prime Minister, how would you expect to support unions who are so weak right now?
You know, I don't think it's a question about how weak unions are, because I don't believe that unions are weak in this country. Our numbers are down, most definitely. Why are our numbers down? It's because the ruling class that have been running this country for generations are afraid of us. They're afraid of the working class coming together and fighting back against the division and the hate that the ruling class has been putting upon us. You know, and when I become leader of the NDP, and eventually, like, I'm tired. It's good that the NDP is the social conscience of the country, but I'm tired of it. And I want the NDP to be the party that runs government for Canadians on behalf of Canadians. And when that happens, when that day comes to fruition, you know, we're going to make it easier to join a union with the digital certification process. We're going to crack down on union busting tactics. And we're going to ensure that we're at the table when our governments are making decisions about workers. We're going to bring unions in. We're going to bring workers in to have them advise us on what's actually happening on the shop floor in the industries that could be targeted by outside forces.
If you don't mind, I want to push back a little bit on what you said. You said unions aren't weak, that your numbers are just down. But I would say objectively, based on what's happening in the country, unions don't have much power. Look at Alberta. Look at the notwithstanding clause used in Alberta. Look at the well, it's not the notwithstanding clause here, but look at how the public transport workers in Montreal were forced back to work without even confronting the law. The only group of people in unions who's really done something radical in the past few years has been Air Canada.
So, like, unions are there to protect the working class, 100%. And it's kind of unfair to say that unions don't have power when governments like Alberta invoke the notwithstanding clause, or when governments force workers back to work, because the labor laws that are set up in a way to punish unions and punish workers for standing up against those unjust laws. Our system is set up by the ruling class, and the working class and their representatives have to fight, unfortunately, within that system. But there's going to come a day when that system breaks, or when that system changes, and the working class, the unions, the members of the Canadian society that'll be able to rise up and stand up against those unjust labor laws that are put in place by governments that rule on behalf of the employing class and the ruling class, because it's our charter right to strike. And we're going to damn well use it when we have to.
Yeah, but when the right to strike exists, that's fine. But why are unions unwilling to say no to a law that is encroaching on their power? Since, I mean, the birth of unions was paved in blood. It was a violent thing. It was police oppression. What, do you want to see them stand up? Are you going to try and push people to stand up against the law if you're a leader of the NDP?
We're a workers' party. We'll do what working Canadians ask us to do on behalf of them. I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with workers.
Mm-hmm. You'd go down to the picket lines and stand beside them?
That's why I was late to this interview, my friend.
That's awesome.
I made sure to be on a picket line.
I think a lot of people feel attracted to you, like I said, because of that union, that labor side. And there could be a lot of advantages, particularly to logistics, which we'll get into. I want to talk about more of your ideas, some of the things you've presented on your website. They're very good ideas as a general thought, but I'm unclear on the details of your ideas, the job programs, and your union programs. So let's dive right into it. I'd love to hear some really solid answers so I can be like, yeah, these are the details of Rob Ashton's campaign. You say that you're going to force workers to be on corporate boards. How do you expect to force private companies to comply with that?
How am I going to force companies to allow workers to be on their boards?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be law. And then when they come into work in Canada, part of that company opening up will be that we have to have workers on the board. Because when you look at it, only makes sense, right? Because the workers that work on the shop floor actually know how to make companies better. You know, when workers are given the opportunity, we do make our workplaces better, more profitable. There's a mill in BC, the location escapes me right now, but the employer ran it into the ground. And then the unionized workers took it over. And now it's booming. Because we know how to make the companies work for so that they earn a profit, but also work so that they're safe, so that workers don't get hurt or killed. We know what to do. That's why we belong there. And you want an easier way to bargain? Make sure the union or make sure the working class is sitting on the board of your directors so that we understand what actual shape the company's in when we go to the bargaining table, so that we can resolve some of the issues before we even get there. You know, we're going to be modeling this off of what happens in Germany, for example. They have the exact, it won't be the exact same system, but they have the same type of system where workers sit on the board of directors. They've had it forever. And it works there. So it'll work here.
Now, do you want to change our electoral system to better represent people across Canada?
So I remember, so this is the one good thing about social media, because stuff pops up from your history. And I remember Jack Layton in the middle of a debate, and all the other government parties were there, and he said it the best. And there's no other way to make it any clearer than this. He said, the Bloc Québécois and the Green Party get roughly the same amount of votes. Yet the Bloc Québécois ends up with like 50 seats, and the Green Party ends up with 1 seat. We have to have a fair system in place.
Mm-hmm. How are you going to crack down on union busting like you've promised to do? Is it going to be laws? Are you going to sue companies who do union busting practices if you win? Once again, all these are under the assumption that you're in power, of course.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So how do we crack down on union busting companies? Simple. We are going to change the laws. We're going to make it so that if workers get 50% plus one card signed, it's automatically unionized. We're not going to allow employers to hold private meetings with the union members on job sites. We're not going to allow them to threaten workers' jobs like they do in an organizing drive. We're not going to allow them to threaten workers' families on organizing drives. Like, the whole system's going to change, my friend. Because right now, how it happens is when you, in certain circumstances, if you apply at the Canadian Industrial Relations Board for a certification, that certification can sit there for a week or it can sit there for a year. In that entire time period, the employer has the ability to hammer away on the workers and say, look, if you organize, we're going to shut down, or we're going to fire you all, or we're going to do all this bad stuff to you. Well, that ends the day that we become government. If workers want to organize their workplace, then you're free to do that without the employer's threats and intimidation.
How are you going to crack down on these things if a company refuses to establish their business in the country? What is your solution to companies that just might not work here anymore?
Well, it's easy. We're a country full of resources. We're a country full of innovators. You know, if an international company doesn't want to come here and fill a spot and put Canadians to work following our laws, then we'll build it. We'll build it and we'll move on it. You know, it's like I want to build wind turbines in this country. And I want the Canadian government to own the wind farm. Well, if Company A won't come into Canada to build the wind turbines because they don't want a worker on their board or they're afraid of their workshops being organized, piss on them. We'll build the wind turbines. Canada will. We'll put our people to work. And then we'll put them in wind farms that we own. Like, we don't have to, or we attract a Canadian investor to build wind farms and to build wind turbines. We're going to do that with roads. We're going to do that with bridges. We're going to do that with hospitals. We're going to do that with building schools to put people into the care economy. This is what a government, an NDP government led by Rob Ashton, is going to do. You know, and the big one that I've been pushing is building ships in this country. Mm-hmm. My goodness, that would provide so many jobs in so many different industries, and that's a change to legislation and regulations.
Now, that would be a fundamental shift of how the Canadian government has done things since Brian Mulroney's government. Now, for people watching who don't know the history a little bit, Canada was probably considered to be a democratic socialist country, social democratic country prior to the 80s. And we had a lot of business in-house. The government ran a lot of business. We had nationalized oil, which is the reason Alberta still hates the Liberals, for example. We had nationalized industries, and usually projects were built in-house, such as our healthcare system. Right now, we have a weaker healthcare system. We have weaker projects, weaker infrastructure, because we outsource to private-public partnerships. So what it sounds like to me, Rob, that you're saying is that you want to end private-public partnerships. But on your website, it says that if money is given to a private company, there will be heavy strings attached. So are you planning on creating a hybrid system, or are you planning on bringing things in-house? And I have a follow-up question to that after I hear your answer.
Yeah, so you bet. The changes that we want to make, or the changes that we may have to make through the government, it's going to definitely take willpower. It's going to take some serious intestinal fortitude to make these drastic changes, to actually start creating businesses and start building what we need, the infrastructure that we need here. Now, when I talk about money going to businesses with strings attached, you know, like, government bailouts happen once in a while. But what we've seen over the last few generations is that when money gets given to companies, it's here's $1 billion. Go do with it what you want. But if we're loaning a government money, or sorry, a corporation money, they're going to have to employ people. That money is going to have to be put into the pockets of the workers, expanding their work sites. And if they decide to leave for whatever reason, like we're seeing right now, when Stellantis buggering off and going south of the border, then guess what? If you leave and leave us in a lurch, you're paying all that money back with interest because you owe it to Canadians. You're cutting your end of the bargain out.
And something tough is going to be rebuilding that expertise, because right now the government is only expertise on how to create public-private partnerships. So it will take a full mandate alone just to rebuild that strength and that efficiency in the government.
Yeah, you bet. Like, here's the thing. There's one worker party in this country, and that's the NDP. The ruling class have two parties, the Liberals and the Conservatives. And it's taken many, many Liberal and Conservative governments that have made the choice to privatize everything in this country and create corporate empires that have done nothing but benefit their friends. So yeah, it could take us 4 years. It could take us 8 years. But Canadian citizens will see what it brings to them. And I believe we will get multiple mandates because the jobs that it creates and the benefits, the social improvements that'll happen in this country under an NDP government will be a vast improvement over what's happening. And we can only do this, and it's possible if we do it together. And that's what we plan on doing.
Do you think bringing these things in-house could bring down problems such as the deficit and save money long term?
Well, sure, because right now the Canadian government, the only way we make money really is off taxes. But if we actually own something and we're taking a part of that profit, not all of it, because obviously a lot of that profit has to belong to those who make the profit for us. So definitely, if the Canadian government owns more things, like if we still owned Air Canada, if we still owned our railways, if we still owned our oil, our country would be a lot richer than we are today. And a big problem with that, and the reason why we're in the place that we're in, is because the Canadian government have cut workers out of every decision-making responsibility. And they don't talk to us. They don't give a flying rat's patootie about us. They only care about making their friends richer and the banks more money.
Will you nationalize projects such as oil pipelines? Will you take control over that?
I nationalize pipelines and oil projects. So look, if something that needs to get built and this has to be a national project, everybody goes to pipelines.
It's the controversial one.
100%, it's a controversial one. But I think, like, if you look at Bill C-5, what the Liberal government's passed, that's wiped out just about every say any Indigenous nation has in it. It wipes out any say that communities along any type of path has. It wipes out any say of any environmental group, any labor group. It's just, my corporate buddy wants it built, we're going to build it.
Yeah, it's too bad because he could have done that with a nationalist, like a socialist view. And it could have been like, listen, we're doing these projects, but it's going to make the government money. It was a half step. It's a classic liberal half step.
Yeah, but it's not even that, right? Like, they don't even have to go and talk to the nations that are along its pathway. They don't have to talk to the community groups. They've cut them all out of it. And so now they're just saying, well, you know what? You don't agree with it? Too bad.
Right.
Because your opinion doesn't matter. Well, go pound sand. Of course Canadians matter. Of course our positions matter. Right. And if they don't want to listen to them, then all power to the people that are going to have their voices heard.
But wouldn't you say that because we elected a Liberal government that it is within their mandate to do this, since this was what they ran on?
No, I don't think it's what the people wanted. Right? Carney was put in power, not even full power, not to build, baby, build, as he put it, but he was put in to defend against Donald Trump and the American administration.
Right. So you don't think his mandate is to build, it's to defend against Donald Trump?
I think that's why he was put in there. Right? Because that's if he was there to build and create jobs, he wouldn't have cut 40,000 jobs out of the budget like that.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't care about that. But I think people put him in power, sort of, because he's in a minority position right now, to fight against Donald Trump, which he's failed miserably at, because he's not standing up to a bully. But we definitely did not put him in power to take away people's rights to have their voices heard, to build stuff. Like, that's not why he's in power. That's not what governments are there for. Governments are there to work for the people, not for the corporations. And he is failing that so miserably. He might as well be the Conservative Party leader. And
the liberals have moved right, and the conservatives have gone very right. It's
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. What are the concrete steps you will take in order to fix the housing crisis?
To fix the housing crisis, well, what we're going to be looking at is 100% the Canadian government getting to building houses. We're going to be building not-for-profit homes, co-op style. We're going to be 300, 400, 500,000 homes, if not more, because we used to do that, and we used to have the ability to do that, but we got away from it so that corporations can earn, and the ruling class could earn millions and billions of dollars in profits off of our backs. We're going to go back to the old style wartime effort building, where we're going to put people to work, and we're going to give people the decency and the dignity of a roof over their heads. Something that they've been denied by conservatives and liberals since they privatized the whole thing. Right? This is the responsibility of the Canadian government, is to make sure people have a home.
How will you bring down the cost of things like groceries and the cost of living? Right now, people with $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year are still struggling to make ends meet.
So you're right. The cost of groceries, gas, everything is ridiculously high. But when you look at, not too long ago, Galen Weston got nailed for price fixing. Price gouging, we should call it. What we're going to have to be doing is stopping that stuff, because every time a monopoly tries to gouge a Canadian, that's a part of the class war. Right? And so what we have to look at is capping prices. We have to look at, if a company gets nailed for price gouging, or a monopoly gets nailed for price gouging, that's theft. I know if I get busted for theft, I shouldn't say when I got busted, because I never stole anything, but
you heard it here first, guys. We're clipping this part and putting that out.
is we have to start putting these people in jail.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and I mean actually doing that.
No, jail them. Yeah.
We have to make sure that monopolies are broken up as a punishment. We have to I think if we take a look at when we're traveling up north, when you go up north and you find an apple, it's quadruple, if not 10 times the price of an apple in like Vancouver. And so the Canadian government has to step in and alleviate that pressure. We have to, any way we need to, we have to fix it. And a part of that is...
Are you going to do things like publicly owned grocery stores like Avi Lewis is proposing?
No, I don't think publicly owned grocery stores is on our list, to be honest with you.
Okay. What about laws that limit the prices of essential goods, such as bread? In France, for example, baguette is €1 today. Like it's always the same price.
Yeah, no, I said that earlier. It's like price caps on groceries.
So price caps. Cool. On like all groceries or just essential items?
No, your essential living items.
So you haven't taken a hard stance on oil and gas. And I understand that that is challenging because Alberta and BC are a lot looser with these kind of questions. The NDP governments there do not look favorably upon some of the federal NDP stances on oil and gas. So where are you at with that? Are you willing to take a harder stance on oil and gas? You have said so far you'll let the caucus decide, but the caucus, as a general whole for the federal NDP, does not want more oil and gas projects.
Oil and gas. So I've said, this is what I've said publicly, is if the indigenous nations with free, prior, and informed consent are okay with the project, or if the community groups in the area are good with the project, it doesn't mean that project's going to go. It's going to end up, that's going to be the start of a conversation to be had. Because there's a tanker ban in BC that's not going to be lifted anytime soon.
Looks like it might be.
I don't know. I think the coastal BC people want the tanker ban there because you can't.
Yes, they do.
Because the liberals and the conservatives, they don't want to regulate industries. They say self-regulation. With self-regulation comes nothing but issues. Like right now, there's an American barge sinking off the coast of Bella Bella with 200 containers and vehicles on it. Right? Like we have to be very careful what we do. And for the NDP, on a serious matter such as this, quite frankly, 100% is the caucus that decides it. It's the convention that decides it. The stance of the party in that regard.
You said you want to get rid of the temporary workers program, which is a travesty by every regard, and the UN has called it akin to a form of modern slavery. What do you want to fill it with? Because it has been used as a way to prop up our labor shortages.
The temporary foreign worker program right now, as it's written, has been built only with corporations in mind. It's been built to allow corporations to control migrant workers. It's been put in place so that they can have an exploitable workforce. And so our plan is to get rid of that and create a program that we can put in place that will actually do well for migrant workers. Will give them the ability to go to work with respect and dignity. In a line with the wages that Canadians get paid, in a way that it protects Canadian workers. No more giving private corporations or anybody like that the ability to run roughshod over anybody. We're going to have safe workplaces no matter who's there. Now, the people that are in the system right now under the current program, nothing would happen to them. They would be carried over to the new program. They wouldn't be forced out. They wouldn't be sent home. They would be carried over to the...
One last question. I want to hear, do you have any criticisms that you would levy openly at Avi Lewis, Heather McPherson, Tony McQuail, or to Neil Johnston?
No. I can't. I would never criticize another one of the candidates in the race. We're all doing this for the betterment of the party. And, my fellow candidates are amazing in our own rights. We all have ideals, and we're all going to support each other because at the end of the day, we're all New Democrats.
Great. I have no more questions. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Rob?
I'm good, my friend.
Great. Well, thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Rob, for taking the time to talk to me. This has been On the Trail with Isaac Peltz. If you liked this, hit that subscribe button, share, give me all your cash, and take care. Thank you, everyone.